Okay, so let's unpack this. Today we're digging into a source that it really tackles a very specific challenge.
Mm.
We're talking about selling a home in the Villages, Florida.
Right.
But it really kind of hones in on when you have to do that during really tough personal times,
Mm.
like health issues, unexpected medical needs, or even losing a spouse.
Yeah, that adds a whole other dimension. Selling a home is, well, it's complicated anyway, right?
Hmm.
But when life throws these major hurdles at you, all the usual stress just gets amplified. And what's interesting here is how this source directly calls that out. It acknowledges how hard that situation is.
So our mission today for this deep dive is really to understand what this source tells us about why it's so tough under
Right.
these specific circumstances.
And crucially, what kind of help it suggests is out there. Help to make things maybe a bit easier, less stressful for you, and help you move on.
Exactly. It's not just the mechanics of the sale. It's the human side, the context. The source really seems to get that selling when you're already maybe low on energy or grieving. It just feels like this massive weight.
It understands it's not just listing a property. It's about needing real support through that process.
And exploring that support is key, isn't it?
Definitely. The source doesn't just point out the problem, it offers a perspective on, well, how to handle it. It talks about how the right kind of help can make a huge difference.
Which makes you think, okay, what does right kind of help even mean when someone's feeling vulnerable? What qualities are really important?
And that's where the source gets specific. It details the kind of support it thinks makes a difference. First up, it mentions this idea of listen and care, emphasizing working at your pace.
Okay, listen and care, working at your pace. Why is that so critical when someone's managing health stuff or, grief?
Well, just think about it. When you're not well or you're grieving, your energy, your ability to even make decisions, it's just not the same. Feeling rushed or like nobody's actually hearing you, that just piles on more stress.
Yeah, I can see that.
So this source seems to get that adapting the process to you instead of making you fit some standard timeline, that's like fundamental support right there. It's about empathy, really.
That makes sense. The source also talks about making things less complex. It says they offer an easy process, handle all the tricky stuff. What kind of tricky stuff are we likely talking about here, especially for someone already juggling so much?
Good question. So based on this source, that tricky stuff probably means all the logistics, the admin headaches, things like coordinating showings, dealing with all the paperwork, understanding contracts, the back and forth of negotiations, maybe handling repairs, getting through the closing.
Right, all those details.
Yeah, and for someone in a health crisis or dealing with loss, those tasks can feel just impossible. So the claim here is that taking that burden off your shoulders directly reduces that specific stress.
And then there's the financial side, which often looms large in difficult times. The source brings up offering quick and fair offers. Getting a potentially great offer without the wait. How does speed become so valuable in these scenarios?
Well, urgency can be very real. You might be facing big medical bills or maybe needing to move somewhere for care or sorting out finances after a spouse passes away. Getting a quick, clear offer, the source suggests, can mean immediate financial relief. It lets you plan your next steps without that long, drawn-out uncertainty of a typical sale.
So it's about clarity moving forward.
Exactly. They frame it as a way to move forward with peace of mind.
Okay, and the last piece they highlight is local know-how. They say they really know the Villages market to get you the best deal. Why does that specific market knowledge matter so much, especially in a unique place like the Villages when you're under pressure?
That's a great point. The Villages isn't just any market. It has its own very specific dynamics, right? Different buyer pools, community rules. To navigate that well and get the best outcome, especially quickly, you need really current, detailed local knowledge.
So you don't have time to become an expert yourself.
Precisely. When you lack the time or frankly, the energy relying on people who are experts in that specific market is vital. The source implies that's key for a fair deal done efficiently. And it specifically points to Jim and Tami McDonald of Realty Executives in the Villages.
Right. They're located at Route 466, Liberty Plaza.
Yes, as providing this combination of that local expertise and the kind of supportive services we've been talking about.
Okay, so let's sort of pull this all together. The main takeaway from this source seems pretty clear. Selling a home in the Villages, especially when you're dealing with tough personal stuff like health issues or losing someone, it's acknowledged as being really hard, a significant hurdle.
Absolutely, and this source puts forward a specific way to approach that hurdle. It highlights these local realtors, Jim and Tami McDonald. They're with Realty Executives. They're at Route 466, Liberty Plaza. And they claim to offer services designed to make it, and these are their words, kind, efficient, and stress-free.
With the goal, according to the source, of helping you move forward with peace of mind.
And those services they spotlight are the ones we discussed. That listening and caring, working at your pace.
Providing an easy process by handling all those complex details.
Offering quick and fair offers for that financial clarity.
And using their local market knowledge to aim for the best deal for you.
Yeah, exactly. And the source wraps up with a pretty direct invitation. It suggests you call them at 352-492-1699 for what they call a free, no-obligation chat.
Okay, so thinking about everything the source emphasizes, all that focus on support during really difficult times, it leaves us with a question for you to consider. If you were in that situation, facing the challenge of selling your home under those kinds of tough circumstances, which aspect would you value most? Would it be the emotional support and the pacing, the practical help with logistics, the speed of getting an offer, or that deep market expertise? Something to think about.